So, my PayPal is in the bio.
This is legal advice. Here's some legal advice. Here's some legal advice. You need to get on the Patreon. That's legal advice.
That's right.
Right now. Do we have it? We have no Patreon.
We do not have a Patreon.
There will not be
wow,
one.
we do.
There will never.
No,
there
no.
will never be.
A reverse Patreon where we pay you.
I just want to say that's a Tarik. It's a Tarik special. That's a.
I am
A Tarik
granting
special.
myself immunity from any outlay of funding.
Yeah.
For Tarik's big mouth.
It's Tarik when he's being bad, though, right?
Yes, Tarik.
That's right.
All right, that is the goofus and gallant of the hell dude.
Yes.
I didn't understand that reference, so I'm just going to pretend it didn't happen.
It's the problem with having two old guys
Sounds
on
like
the
someone
podcast.
never went to the dentist.
What?
Wait, you losing? Now you're losing me. Like I was aware of Goofus and Gallant, but like
Goofus and Gallant were in Highlights magazine. Highlights magazine is essentially exclusively in pediatric.
who the
dentists.
fuck reads magazines at the dentist other than just like chewing on your lip and staring at the wall and waiting to get fucking drilled into?
Well, before we had cell phones and the time of the way back when Charles was growing up,
Oh yeah, I tweeted
They,
the dentist office now.
they
If
had
you're not
to read
posting in the
You
dentist
know
office,
things.
pathetic.
Old guys.
I had cavities drilled with a hand crank. Bastards. It was like trepanning equipment.
Yes.
Holy
all right.
fuck. I didn't know they. Wait, you're fucking with us right now?
He is fucking with you.
Okay.
I choose to
Thank you.
believe everything Charles says about
Yeah,
the way
I'm
back
post
when.
I'm post electricity. Okay, so is everyone ready for me to kick this off?
Kick it off, my friend.
Kick it.
Kick it off.
All right. Hey, everyone out there, and welcome to the second episode of Mike Dicta, America's best-named legal podcast. I'm your host for the day, Charles Starr, and I'm joined by too many people from too many places to talk about a few things bouncing around the news. I'll introduce each of them so we can pretend that you can pick up their voices for the rest of the hour. First, with me from New York is Tarik, Twitter's Second Amendment Muslim, R.I.P.
I'm the hell dude.
From Illinois, we have Robyn on Twitter as Batmans_Robyn with a Y.
Hello, everybody.
From Minnesota, we have Christina, Twitter's Floozy ESQ.
Hi.
And from DC, Andy, Twitter's Wyatt_Privilege.
Hey everybody.
I do not know or care what they go by on Instagram or Snapchat. I am too old to use anything but Twitter. So, today's first topic is a tragedy born of farce. The swatting death of Andrew Finch, an innocent bystander in a dispute between a couple of posturing gamers. For those who don't know what swatting is, it's a prank where people call 911 or some governmental agency and report a dire situation that is likely to prompt an extreme police response. In this case, two Call of Duty players arguing over a $1 bet, like trading places idiots. One threatened to swat the other. The second responded by daring him to do it and providing a fake address. And then the first guy giving that fake address to a third online moron who is known for calling in swatting attacks.
No, well, let's just be clear. The guy's handle is Swatistic.
Yeah, this wasn't. I don't think it was a guess that the guy would call it in.
Yeah, no.
But he did. He called City Hall in Wichita because he didn't have 911, I guess. No, you can't call someone else's 911. So he called City Hall in Wichita. He told them that he had just shot his father, who was dying, and had the rest of his family hostage and had poured gasoline everywhere and was feeling paranoid and threatened and might burn the place down, and clarified the address where he was.
Well, the guy's done this like a bunch of times, so he's sorted out all the particulars about how to SWAT somebody from another city.
Yeah, and so the police came out. The resident of the house was the latest in a long line of people who didn't follow police instructions to the letter and got shot by one of the officers on the scene, who thought he might have pulled a gun out of his waistband, and he died shortly thereafter. And they have since, arrested Swatistic in California, a guy named, I'm forgetting his first name. His last name, I think, is
Travis?
Tyler Barris. Tyler Barris. So there's a lot. There's a lot to unpack here. Anyone want to take a first shot at where they want to go with this?
Just first of all, I would like to say, imagine going to jail for murder because you were playing Call of Duty. Like, I mean, at least pick a cooler game.
Whoa!
I don't know.
Whoa!
I don't know that that's a fair assessment. But, the game aside, like, we could argue about the merits of various first-person shooting games. But I think, like, a lot of people are talking about this as if it's something that is sort of new and unheard of, but for those of you who keep up with gaming Twitter, or pop culture in general, this is something that happens, like, all the time. Like, I remember a couple years ago, there was this big rash of celebrity swatting, and so they did Justin Bieber, they did Ashton Kutcher, who, they are people who exist,
People have been swatted on stream before. Like, you could be in a stream chat, and then all of a sudden some guy, like, he throws his headphones off because he hears the rumble coming in through the door, and he's, oh shit, you guys fucking swat me? And then bam, he's on the ground, like, in push-up position, and there's cops, and the stream chat's just scrolling, going nuts of everybody posting, I don't know, LOL, or I hope you're not fucking dead in 5 seconds.
Well, and that's, like, the thing, right, is, like, gamers, they know that this is a thing that happens, and so when it does happen for them, it's like, oh shit, you swatted me, this is annoying. But imagine, like, this guy, he's like a 28-year-old dude just, like, going about his life, chilling at home. He doesn't play video games, from what all of the news reports have said. And all of a sudden, he gets this, like, insane SWAT team response just showing up at his house. Mm-hmm. So it's not like he's going to be someone who is terribly primed to be following police directions in this situation. Like, that's terrifying. Because your first thought isn't, oh shit, I'm the victim of an online prank gone awry. Your first thought is, oh no, there's some shit going down at my neighbor's house. Like, what's going on?
Yeah, I don't think anyone sort of particularly blames the guy for being confused. And, from what I've read, because I won't watch videos like this. I mean, I like some people do, and there is probably a sense that I should, but I can't watch them. I didn't watch this one. I didn't watch.
I didn't know there was a video.
The last guy who was shot crawling on his hands and knees. Like, I can't do it. And so this guy apparently had his hands up, and he had them up for a while, and then he put them down, and then he picked them up again. And I guess when he put them down and then picked them up again, someone who, like, couldn't see a gun made the assumption that maybe he had one, and that cop fired one shot, which was the shot who killed him, which was the shot that killed him. And we can get to the police response too, but like, there's in terms of the legal issues, there's a lot, I think, to deal with in terms of the culpability of the various actors. But I think most people think that what Finch did is what I think a lot of people would have done in the same situation, where they were sort of confused.
He's in a situation that is designed by its very parameters to create the risk of death, right? I mean, they call in these extreme situations in order to, provoke a very militarized response. And as we've seen over and over again, these things inevitably are going to end with somebody getting shot. And that's why they do it. One of the things with the law that, is known to us, but maybe not to most lay people is, we look to the intent of the actor in determining what the punishment is. In this case, a prank is when you call and ask if somebody's refrigerator is running. In this case, calling and saying that there's an active, shooter situation, I've got the house doused in gasoline, is designed to create a police response that will possibly lead to your killing. This was foreseeable in the extreme for the person who did it, and, it's just...
Is one of you currently being swatted?
Did somebody get swatted? Hey guys, just to spice it up, I swatted Tarik, so this should get fun.
Well, so I live in Chicago, and so we live on like a major arterial street between a police station, a fire station, and a hospital.
You're safe as shit.
So very safe. But so
or
it might
the opposite.
Yeah, if you touch your belt, you're fucking dead.
We did have a SWAT team response a couple years ago, so that was a thing that happened. But in our case, the guy was hanging out with a machete out a window. So I do want to talk really quickly about going back to the point about the intent, because something that was really interesting about the Twitter response is Mr. Swatistic. I don't know what account he was tweeting under at the time, but screenshots have been floating around of him, all caps. I didn't get anyone killed because I didn't discharge a weapon, and being a SWAT member isn't my profession. And
nope.
I do... Right, like there's just a fundamental misunderstanding about how these sorts of things work.
That's like saying whenever I shove someone into the river, well, I didn't drown them because I'm not water. You know what I mean? Got
him.
Right, it sounds like Swatistic spend a lot of time on Westlaw.
Well, right.
Response. He has logicked his way out of an intent crime. I mean, like at the very least, right, the minimum is that he was reckless, right, with because he set in motion a SWAT team armed to a specific address.
So let's just back up for a minute and like talk about how you can get to a first-degree murder charge. Like what are the different flavors of murder that can get you in first-degree murder territory?
So first degree is premeditated. It's usually planned. It's you make a plan to kill someone, you do the thing, you kill them. Is first degree murder. Like it requires that level of
Could this be first degree?
Yeah, I meant to do the thing.
Yeah.
And then it kind of decreases in severity from there, going from the lower your intent is, so you get pissed off and you kill someone, it's still a murder, but it's not necessarily going to be that first degree. But if you get in a fight with someone at a bar, you go outside to cool down for 5 minutes, and in that 5-minute period, you take the gun out of the glove box of your car and go back in and shoot the guy, then that'll still be first degree because you have a cooling off period.
Yeah, I mean, I think in this case, the varying degrees come less into play than how Kansas, in this case, works their felony murder statute, where someone is killed not necessarily by the defendant, as a sort of reasonable consequence of whatever other felony was being committed by.
Oh, I thought the Kansas felony murder had an inherently dangerous felony. So it's not just any felony, but it had to be kidnapping, armed robbery, stuff like that. I'm not sure that this.
Are they enumerated? The actual underlying felonies?
I looked it up a couple days ago. I don't remember. I think it's one of those inexclusive lists.
Right. Well, I mean, to the extent that there's inherently dangerous predicate, that I can't imagine this has been tested yet. And I wouldn't be surprised if the local prosecutor found this an interesting
It's
case
a magic test case. I mean, the facts are so bad, you gotta nail them. So I wouldn't be surprised if somebody gets away with some interesting stuff.
It's happened a couple times where, for whatever reason, during the commission of a crime, people are killed as part of the police response. And generally speaking, I know for sure there was a case in Oklahoma, there was a case in Illinois, similarly, where people are killed by the cops as part of the police response to a felony, or what they think is a felony crime, and violent crime. So this would certainly count, and it does bring people under that kind of umbrella of felony murder statutes, even though it's the police that are doing the shooting, not necessarily the people who are committing the underlying felony.
Yeah, I mean, I know that, and this isn't a felony murder case, but I saw when I was reading about the background to this case, there was at least one case in Kansas where a person who was fleeing from the police was charged with some level of murder when the police in pursuit ran a stop sign and the accident killed a bystander. And so by fleeing I think the police was charged with involuntary manslaughter in that case too, because the pursuit was dangerous, but they did not let the person who was being chased off the hook either, as the police response was a reasonable consequence of their flight. Mm-hmm. And so, I don't think it was a felony murder charge, but that may just be the particularities of Kansas's statute. But he definitely was charged with some degree of responsibility in the bystander.
The law, I think, has been very slow to kind of catch up to the internet in some respects. But Kansas does have a statute about giving a false alarm, and it is a felony if you give such information to indicate that violent criminal activity is afoot, or if you use spoofing devices to sort of hide your identity, both of which happened in this case. So it would seem that at a minimum there's at least a minor felony that occurred in Kansas when this guy did this.
Yeah, and I mean, like, any creative prosecutor is gonna, I feel like, be able to make the case under the statute. I mean, like, it doesn't.
Well, so
yeah.
What I'm wondering is if this is going to be brought under federal or state law, because we know that Kansas already has a statute, but we do have this sort of weird jurisdictional issue where we've got a guy in California who is collaborating with some other unknown third party to call in this false alarm to go after a guy in Kansas. So I don't know what the jurisdictional issues arise.
He was captured and jailed in L.A. I think he's currently being held. They haven't specified the charges, but they are felony. And I think the expectation is that he will be taken to Kansas to deal with this.
Right. Though, I mean, it's still a state-federal question. I mean, I think certainly if they're going to take him to, I think certainly the local Kansas authorities are going to want the first crack. But by using the, just using the phone to call it in, he probably has created federal jurisdiction too. But I'm not sufficiently familiar with, federal criminal law in a non-securities context.
I don't think there's any real jurisdictional issues. There might be in between the two offices who decides, like in the Eichenwald case where they drop the federal but move forward with state. I don't think there's going to be any jurisdictional issues there.
Oh, I didn't mean as a fight. I just meant that, like, he could be. I don't think the charges would overlap, and he certainly could be indicted in both state and federal court without having a double jeopardy issue. I mean, this is something that comes up a lot when people when someone is acquitted in state court, and then the federal prosecutor recharges under a civil rights charge because the elements of the crime aren't the same in state and federal, it ends up not being a double jeopardy issue, even though I think to most people it seems like they're just being charged twice for the same thing. The subtle differences in how the statutes are written make it possible for it not to end up being a double jeopardy issue.
One thing I thought was interesting, to go back to his original argument, is like, to us it sounds really stupid, and it is really stupid, that I'm not a SWAT team guy, so I didn't get somebody killed. But he is kind of intuiting a causation principle where he's thinking of like an intervening actor, right? Like a cop, they did the shooting, and it seems pretty clear, or very possible anyway, that they had an error. It's weird that they just like shot a confused guy who, forgot to keep his hands up when he knew he hadn't done anything wrong. So he's kind of intuiting that there's an intervening actor and it's that person's fault. And that is a relevant causation principle in some contexts. But here he's going to have but-for causation easily, because none of this would have been happening if he hadn't swatted the fucking guy.
Also, it is foreseeable. I mean, we've seen this time and again. And again, the entire idea behind swatting is to leverage the militarization of the police and to call out like these guys in their, with their assault rifles or whatever they have, to surround your house and to create a situation of extreme peril.
Mm-hmm. Right. I mean, and LOL. It's fucking funny. Ha
well,
ha.
I mean, it's also
hilarious.
It's not mutually exclusive. Like, it's not, we can either charge the guys who called in the swatting, or we can charge the cops. Like, that's not how this works. If it ends up being determined that the police were ultimately at fault, like, I think we can all agree that the police were ultimately at fault because they actually shot the guy. But it's not as if we can't charge the cop who did the shooting, in addition to the guys who caused the underlying panic in the first place.
Right.
I think that's technically true, but there is no way the cop is going to get at least criminally charged here. The prosecutor, right. No thanks. Now, I think you're right to bring up that like both can be sued, and that's maybe a more interesting question about liability. But I mean, there's no way the Kansas prosecutor is like looking for the guy who did the shot here. I don't think it's going to happen.
No, but like whether they're going to, and whether it's like a thing that can be done, or
right, technically possible, yeah.
Separate questions. Right. It's not. If this was another scenario where it was a good guy with a gun who, responded because he thought he was doing the right thing, it's like, good guy with a gun is still going down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. I think. I think what you end up with on the causation question for Barris is at best a jury question. Like, I don't think he would ever get a dismissal on a charge with but-for causation, but he certainly, I think that would probably be, to the extent that he isn't outright denying everything, I think the basis for his defense would end up being, none of this was supposed to happen, and a reasonable
this was just supposed to be a fun afternoon,
just a romp,
just
a romp.
Call of Duty, man. These players.
Over $2 whole.
Yeah.
Yep.
If you get swatted, man, and that gets placed on Reddit, like if you get swatted on stream, you know how many more stream viewers you get? It was actually I'm actually helping him out, to be honest. So,
yeah,
I need a lawyer.
Yeah.
I gotta tell you, what drives me crazy about swatting is that there's just such a much funnier version of it for the Twitch guys. I mean, I read that like some people will like go outside, they'll figure out where a streamer is, and they'll just like honk their horn incessantly just because it ruins the stream. Like they'll find someone local to just drive outside and just make noise. And I gotta say, that's so much funnier than sending in.
Why the fuck does anyone
SWAT
stream
team.
video games? I mean, God, it sounds like it sucks.
Because they're nerds. Like,
I mean, if you know...
Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Okay, we need to unpack all...
Can't insult gamers on the podcast. That's a key demographic.
And my mentions are going to be filled.
I apologize.
Don't want to insult...
Yeah, I apologize.
You certainly don't want to insult gamers with any identifying geographic characteristics.
Whoever's editing this, cut out that gamer part out of the podcast, but include it in a little clip that we can tweet.
No, gaming is the highest, best purpose to which we all should aspire.
Correct.
Well, it's all about ethics in video game journalism, so...
Gaming number 1, jacking off number 2, number 3 is posting. That's the holy trinity of life.
I'm fine with that.
Christina, you're exactly right.
That's the sound of the police. That's the sound of the beast. That's the sound of the police. That's the sound of the beast. That's the sound of the police. That's the sound of the beast.
So can we let's bring everything back a little bit. Let's talk about the cops some more. I want to talk about the cops.
Yeah, I mean, there are obviously two aspects. The first, I think Andy is right. There's no way the officer will be charged in any criminal way because given the nature of the call, killed my dad, everyone else is a hostage, the house may be on fire. I think the cop definitely had reason to believe that the person who came out of the house was armed. And regardless of how itchy that trigger finger was, there's no prosecutor, I think, that will ever hold him liable. Right.
So I agree with you on the second part, but I don't think... I think it's more arguable that it was unreasonable as far as the cop's behavior, even if the...
No. Just the initial belief that he was armed at the time.
I think
not that he saw.
I think in a qualified immunity suit, which I know we're going to get to, but in a suit, I'm sure his defense or the city's defense would say something like that. As to whether that person had weapons free to open fire on this guy because he did something that seems pretty normal in the sense of a person in the context of their normal life never has to hold their hands up for a long time when they haven't done anything wrong and might just absentmindedly drop them. I still use my hands when I'm talking to my boss, and luckily he doesn't have a gun because I guess I could fucking die for it. I'm just saying I don't think that it's reasonable. Or it's arguable that it's not reasonable.
Yeah, no. But that I think that's a different. I think the breadth of reasonability, I think that a prosecutor is going to ascribe to a police officer is a lot broader than I think you're saying here. He had the call. He had a good. He had a reasonable belief that the person was armed, and then everything after that, they're going to write off to heat of the moment. And
a phrase you're going to hear a lot is the totality of the circumstances. And
oh, nice! I love that shit.
Yeah, love it. Love those Latin magic legal words, and that's how
that's not Latin.
Magic legal words.
Yeah, the Latin sounds a lot like English.
But whatever, that totality of circumstances, once you see that, that's a wrap. Forget it. The more powerful party just won the case.
Yep.
Every single time.
Every time.
That's how you pass the bar exam, too. It's just the totality of the circumstances and what a reasonable person would do.
Yes.
That's right.
Speaking of which, should we transition now to what happens when you are brutalized by the police?
Yes.
Because that's
you fucking die. That's
we've talked about qualified immunity. We mentioned it, but let's get a little bit deeper into it.
So this is very outside my wheelhouse. Can someone explain qualified immunity?
Christina.
Okay, I'll take this one. So so this sort of pertains to a body of law, and it has to do with something called Section 1983, which is a statute that outlines how you can sue government officials for violating your constitutional rights. It was first, just sort of an interesting side note, it was first written and used by President Grant during
there's like a bunch of KKK stuff going on after the Civil War. Who would have thought? And he used it to suspend habeas corpus and just sort of go after the people there. But since then, it has been used to sue government officials who violate your constitutional rights. But while that sounds really great, the government actors have a great shield from liability called, and like they have a couple, but the biggest one is called qualified immunity. And so what qualified immunity does is basically... An immunity means that you're immune from suit. Like the case just gets kicked. It's dismissed outright if the government proves that it had qualified immunity. So the questions that the court has to consider whenever they're sort of evaluating whether qualified immunity exists is first, if everything that the plaintiff, so the person who's been brutalized by the police, was true, would that those actually even count as a violation of those constitutional rights. And the second question is were those rights that are supposedly being trampled on by the police clearly established at the time of the actual incident? So in practice, this basically means that as you might have intuited, it is extremely fucking hard to win against the cops. Yeah, so basically,
there was actually...
Yeah, so I mean, you
to get to the...
Sorry. So the cops have to fuck up real bad for any of this to actually like happen.
Basically, did you box the judges out of any ability of them like pacing around in their chambers to try to figure out a way to get you out of this? If you were so fucking bad... that they can't think up a reason, then yeah, okay, you got a case.
Yeah.
I mean, to give you an example, I think there was a case last week, I think Fourth Circuit, where the police committed like a series of sort of horrible acts. There was a police chase. There was a police chase that started with, the guy tried to get away from the police, from the first officer, and swerve to avoid the officer. And you hear the officer on the dash cam go, he tried to ram me, even though he clearly did not. And then a chase starts. One of the other officers in pursuit, after having previously been warned not to do this, basically runs him off the road.
Fuck yeah.
Into a parking lot. Like he hits him twice, and then like in the parking lot the guy still keeps trying to get away, and he's like backing up and like being really careful, avoiding everyone. He gets past the same cop who ran him off the road, and as he gets past the cop, he fires into the car twice, killing him.
The cop shoots into the car.
The cop shoots into the
Jesus
car
Christ.
and kills the guy. And this is recorded by like 4 dash cams. And that cop wasn't even allowed to be in the chase, because I guess there's a rule that's in whatever this jurisdiction was. It says only 2 cars at a time. And he just jumped in as a third car, rammed the guy trying to get away, and then... when he was not posing at that moment a danger to anyone, something he knew because the car had literally just driven past him, right? It wasn't approaching him anymore. He was now like parallel to the driver. He shot him. And so they go through all of that. The police fired him. They basically, as much as admit that all of these things add up to a constitutional violation, but the Fourth Circuit surveys the land, and they're like, this is your mulligan. This is a constitutional violation.
But it wasn't clearly established.
The combination of cases have not clearly established that this was one before.
Look, nobody said that you couldn't just like cruise by a guy and fire into the car after running him off the fucking road. Okay, so that's not the Constitution, but now you guys know you can't do that.
Now you know. Now you know that this set of circumstances would amount to a violation, and the Fourth Circuit.
So just imagine if you're listening to this podcast, just imagine that these opinions are basically written to the widows of the person, and they're just like telling them why you're fucked and your kids aren't going to college.
Yeah, I mean that's it. That's sort of always what it is, because it's always the family suing, for wrongful death.
Because you don't make it out of that once a cop decides like he's coming right for us.
So just sort of some inside baseball here. The part of the reason that the case law is so bad surrounding qualified immunity is because when the cops like super duper fuck up, they will. The city shells out like millions for hush money, basically. So what happens is the cases that actually go to trial and like have case law generated from are, to us seem really bad, but to the court it seems like a little bit more 50-50. So that's part of the problem. And something else interesting that Charles brought up was the fact that there was camera, there was videos, and people seem to treat body cams as if they're going to be like just that's going to end police brutality, but it doesn't matter because qualified immunity protects people from lawsuit. So
I gotta say, there's also a second thing here, and the whole he tried to ram me, and there was a second incident like that where someone made a statement that could be picked up by the dash cam audio, which was clearly contradicted by the audio itself. Police are clearly being trained. There's no way around this. Police are clearly being trained to mold the audio to the story they're going to want to tell later.
Oh yeah, cop speak.
Because it's clear that he didn't try to ram the officer. He, the Fourth Circuit just says flat out, we watched the video. It's clear from the video that he tried to avoid the officer, and the officer had to know it. And so we discount his statement, except to the extent that it influenced other people who may have heard him on the radio. But that whole thing, it's like the old Jimbo from South Park defense, where you just scream he's coming at us, and then anything after it is fair game. And there seems to be a pattern of seeding the record like that. With things that you can use later, that is, sort of phony contemporaneous.
Yeah, this is the kind of thing that gets put out at like a muster. You muster up uniformed personnel. I did when I was in the military, but like, it's a morning gathering, and this is the sort of thing that will go out in memos and will go out in instructions that like this is the kind of stuff we need in order to. So just make sure you have this on the record. Make sure you have this stuff. These are the things. These are justifying circumstances. So say that shit in your microphone.
Well, I did prison brutality cases years ago, and that's exactly right. I mean, they know this stuff as well as you do, or better, and they will make sure that if somebody's going to get beaten up or killed or whatever, that you're going to have the right record to put in on the off chance you do get busted.
I just want to say, I realize now that I said the phrase, I used to do this in the military. And I did not actually used to do this. I just meant the uniform muster personnel and tell them the new message of the day. I did not tell people how to fucking shoot into somebody's car.
Proud of you.
Yeah.
Hey, man.
Yeah.
Feed the shit out of that record, baby.
See so many people get dragged on Twitter.
Seed me.
So what is the solution to something like this? Because it's like very outside of my practice wheelhouse, so I know very little about this, and I'm genuinely curious. Like, we've got the record. There's clearly some sort of priority weight given to the transcribed, written word, or there must be. So what's the mechanism to address this? Like, is it people are just going to have to go through a shit fit at the Supreme Court, or...
I can't see any way that you find profound change without a profound change in the system. Because, you have the people that are judging the actions, and they're, law school nerds, or they had, a particular friend and they got appointed to a judgeship, maybe they ran for a judgeship, so they're the kind of person that would run for a judgeship. And these are the people that are making the decisions. They've never fucking held a gun in their life, or if they have, they haven't been in a tactical situation. And so they're not, qualified to evaluate reasonable conduct in that situation. It's because they shit their pants when somebody honks a fucking horn at them behind them in fucking traffic. So So and then even if you had somebody
alternative
that was,
swatting.
Even if you had somebody that was qualified, it's not like cops or whatever are really lining up for, social justice perspectives. So there's just the arrangement now. It's not going to help if you put more people with tactical experience in there. But they're just going to defer even more often than the nerds that you have now. So I don't see a solution without a profound change in the system.
It's even beyond like the fact that who's judging. I mean, the law is just really fucking bad. Like if you read Graham versus Connor, which is sort of like the gold standard that talks about police in like 1983 related actions. I mean.
And that was shooting a fleeing suspect in a non-violent
exactly.
situation.
Yeah, it's so the standard it lays out there isn't even, it's not even a reasonable person. It's you have qualified immunity if a reasonable officer at the scene at the time would have thought the actions were reasonable, which is like an insane standard. And like they explicitly say in the case, like, no hindsight 2020, and you cannot go into the officer's intentions beyond reacting to a situation. It is insane. You can, I mean, until that case is overruled at the Supreme Court level, none of this jurisprudence will change. Because
I feel like Gorsuch's going to come through for us on that one. So
yeah, right.
I from what I remember, Graham isn't even that horrible in explaining it, but everyone after Graham has not wanted, like, there's just an institutional deference to the police.
Yeah, they're just going to bail on the question every time.
Yeah, and so because of that deference, they just end up making, like, the Graham rules smaller and smaller and smaller, and the reasonable officer gets to be more and more unreasonable. Mm-hmm.
Look, I don't know what it's like. That guy could have reasonably been afraid of, anybody doing anything or crawling around. He ordered the guy to do a lot of unreasonable shit, and then the guy didn't do it perfectly. That's scary. That's super scary when somebody fails that assignment, says, you fucking got an air hole.
And so just to go into the reasons why this exists, like qualified immunity, I mean, it was sort of... It's a not common law rule. It's a case law rule that was meant so that officers didn't feel like they had to second guess everything that they were doing. Which, I mean, in my opinion, they maybe should think a little bit harder. But right. It's just supposed to make like doing their job, like policing, easier. And big asterisk here. Whenever qualified immunity started being used, this was back before cities would indemnify police officers. So there's a possibility that if you were a cop and you fucked up and got sued for like under 1983, you could lose your house. Nowadays, cities commonly, I mean, I don't know a single city that doesn't have an agreement with the police union that they will defend and indemnify unless like the cop did something super bad, and then like that's a whole different process that I won't go into. But the whole landscape has changed. I mean, there's like these cops aren't going to be financially on the hook for anything. It's the city. So that's sort of like why this exists. But I mean, in 2017, we're in a much different situation than like we were in 1960 or something like.
Yeah, I mean, but I also think that the courts, which, everyone thinks in terms of branches of the government, are still the government. And I think there is just a kind of protection of, something closer to sovereign immunity where they make it harder to sue the city. I mean, as bad as qualified immunity is, prosecutors have absolute immunity for prosecutorial decisions.
And judges do, too. They have absolute immunity.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it, like, those immunities are basically like, Congress just exempting themselves from the laws that they pass for everyone else. It's like, oh, by the way, I am immune from any harm, from any lawsuit, for any mistakes I might make. And let me be clear, that there is definitely a good neutral reason for this.
Yeah, just immunities in general are so interesting because people don't know about them. Like, there's just this whole, like, dark side of litigation that goes on where like, normal people just have no idea why they can't sue the city, and it's because of these, like qualified immunity. There's discretionary immunity, which I won't get into, but... You know, and it's not like these are codified anywhere. These are not laws. This is established through case law. So it's especially insidious and especially dangerous for litigants.
Yeah, and I mean, you will never find a governmental body that strips police or judges or prosecutors of that immunity.
No.
And so it's as good as permanent.
Yeah, that. My guess is that's going to be the punchline to a lot of our bits on the podcast, which is like, first of all, law is a pathetic profession. We don't fucking do anything. We just do razor-thin distinctions. Oh, and by the way, we can never help you. None of this shit's going away. It's all just like a powerful person's interpretation of why they should get their way.
For those of us listening, this means that Mike Dicta actually is your lawyer.
There's just one thing I want to say. There's just one thing I want to say. Get to the point. There's just one thing I want to say. What goes around comes back around again. What goes around comes back around again. What goes around comes back around.
I think the funniest case of this week was again Roy Moore. Who attempted to stop the seating of his Senate opponent, whose name I have literally already forgotten.
Doug Jones.
Doug Jones.
Who I personally secured the victory
name,
of
if ever
with
there
my,
was one.
I did mean.
Probably not a lizard person, Doug Jones.
Doug Jones? He's definitely controlled opposition lizard person. Come on.
Yeah.
Not yet proven to be a lizard person.
So Roy Moore sued to stop his seating, even though number one, he was outside of the recount amount. Like it was like he lost by 2.5% or something like that, and the statutory recount is triggered at like 0.5%, so he couldn't ask for a recount. And his allegations were voter fraud. And his proof was an expert who basically said too many black people.
Bold gambit. The racist gambit.
It was a very bold gambit. Whereas in an election without...
Look, we've been doing everything we can to make these people not vote. And then you're saying this many showed up? Come on.
Right.
Yes.
Right. We had people out in force threatening voters. How could this possibly happen?
We rejected their IDs. We were like challenging them when they were coming up. I mean, we did everything. Come on,
No, but it was a guy who just argued from statistics that more people in selected counties, wink wink, voted in this election than they had in other elections, and the only possible reason that could be is fraud. Yes. And at the very least, you need to stop and investigate.
There's nothing else going on there. Nothing. No,
no
other relevant
one
facts.
Additional. It turned out there was one more flaw, by the way, which is that the Alabama statute governing the Secretary of State's jurisdiction explicitly excludes Senate races.
Oh, I love that. That's incredible. Wait. Okay, so I feel like I saw you guys talking about this, but does that mean that a Supreme
Alabama
Court justice...
didn't even respond. Before they responded, the judge sua sponte dismissed it on the grounds that they did not have
before the response.
Sua sponte,
within a day.
That is such a beastly thing.
Within a day, just like a one-paragraph thing.
Get the fuck out of my
cited
court.
The statute.
No, yeah. Charles is using Latin, sua sponte, court on its own motion.
That's a clerk
dismissed his case.
The court
jacked off
it dismissed his case when he filed for a temporary restraining order. denied the TRO and then threw his case out. That's basically like
they didn't even get a call back from the opposition. Prejudice. They just got the judge was like, I'm not even going to look at this.
He went out for the jump ball and they just called the game. Boom. Completely owned.
Yep. It's amazing. This guy used to be the chief judge of the Supreme Court of Alabama.
Right? That's the part I was trying to get to.
And the guy who he chooses for his personal attorney got his law degree by sending in, like, boxes.
Honestly, me too, to be honest. Same thing.
Everything is bad. I mean, I don't know if people read the document preservation letter he sent to AL.com, who was one of the, I guess, Washington Post and AL.com at the same time, or AL.com did the follow-up work on the mole creeper story in the Washington Post.
Oh.
And so he sent a document preservation letter to the holding company or whatever of AL.com, and everything about it was nonsense.
Fuck yes.
Like every sentence, it was proofread in the dark.
That's the kind of law I want to start practicing. Like I want to start practicing law. Like I feel like I could do a better job and be funnier for like fail guys who blow it politically. And I'll just, like, sue everybody and have them pay me by the hour. It sounds like it fucking kicks ass.
Well, and AL.com was having none of it. They just, like, the editors clap back, and they just like, nah, you were good. Thanks.
Yeah.
And in the weeks leading up to it, they were like, 53 pastors tell Roy Moore to shut the fuck up.
Yeah, like, they... which was refreshing in this, like, post-Gawker dystopian world where journalists are regularly being sued out of oh geez.
Yeah.
Sorry, I tried to pull something up to fact check real fast and it auto-played a video. But anyways.
As long as
leave that in.
Leave that in.
I apologize for losing my train of thought.
That man's Robyn, folks.
Thanks. Hi everybody, I'm a lawyer. But no, like I do think it's kind of refreshing to see that just in this one specific case, everybody has been very united and like, no.
I feel like the Republicans were like, leading up to the election, the Republicans were like, no, Roy Moore, that shit's false or whatever. And then the minute he lost, a ton of people were like, I mean, he probably shouldn't have been there. Like, we got a blue with this guy. It's a fucking
a ton of people, including Trump.
Strange. What'd you say?
Yeah, including Trump.
Trump walked away from him the next day.
He said, I tried to tell you, man. I tried to tell you. Didn't I try to say this?
Should have been strange.
I do think the best thing about this Roy Moore complaint is his polygraph.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. Yes. Polygraph.
Yeah, he said that's right.
Oh,
no,
he irrelevant possible shit.
Wait. No, but it's even better because a key portion of his complaint is that he took a polygraph that he would not show you the results of.
Absolutely.
Yes, he.
Oh, what? Wait, what?
That he never dated. He never dated underage women. And
he wouldn't show the results.
The polygraph proved beyond a reasonable doubt.
On my honor.
The fact that people believe the allegations against him, has to mean that there was fraud afoot.
Oh my god!
Got him.
He's gonna attach his astrology report or something to his next.
The other good part was that there's actually a Alabama Association of Polygraph Professionals.
What the fuck?
Who certified the results? Yes. So. It's not just any old polygrapher. I mean, this guy belongs to a professional association.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
As opposed to all those hobbyist polygraphers.
The Alabama, I mean,
Can you imagine
how fucking racist is that organization? Like, how, like on a 1 to 10 scale?
No, we're not. Let's not even.
The Alabama, okay, hold on. I'm not saying, this is not about Alabama generally or something. I'm from the South. But how racist is the Alabama polygraph? Okay? The association.
I mean, if he took a polygraph, allegedly, he swore that he passed, and they said that he passed, but, whether the questions were the correct ones is a completely different.
The baselining questions for the Alabama Polygraph Association are very racist, I'm assuming.
What are the polygraphers who don't make it into the Alabama Polygrapher Association? Like
the off reservation underground. Look, man, I'm not certified, but I can do this one.
It's actually just a ham radio that people have connected to a LaserJet printer.
Nice.
I think joining the AAPP is a lot like becoming, like one of those Vietnam era ministers.
Hey, I got ordained online.
Nice. I'm imagining like the scene from Arrested Development, where it's like the Magicians Guild, and like it's the Alabama Polygraph Professionals. We demand to be respected. Like that's who he was certified by.
You want to know how bad he passed his polygraph? He passed the fuck out of this polygraph. Don't you fucking question this. We are the Alabama Association of Polygraph Professionals.
See, like I didn't actually read the full. I didn't see the exhibits, so I didn't read the affidavit. Just that it was attached and existed.
Though I just am happy that in order to file this complaint, the indignity was forced upon him to take a polygraph where he said, "No, I didn't try to fuck a 14-year-old." Oh god.
And I think maybe 2 out of the 3 reviewers said that he was being truthful.
Yeah. Wait, what? He got
that is my guess, is that they had to keep like adding
it was a majority vote
to the panel until they got a majority who like agreed that the 12.7 Richter scale twitching of the needle in response to his question actually represented a truthful
You're never going to
response.
believe how good the guy accused of banging 14-year-olds at a mall is at lying. You're never going to believe
But I will say, though, because like we're laughing about this because we all know, at this point, how unreliable polygraphs are. But, like, I don't think people fully understand, like, how they work, necessarily. And so it's
they just scare people.
Yeah, they scare people.
They're the biorhythm machine at the arcade.
Yeah, and so it's like they tell you, they can basically say whether or not someone is anxious. And they can't tell you any reason why anybody's anxious.
Anxious relative to the time when they asked you what your name is.
Right.
So the entire submission is several short paragraphs, half a page. It's just, I, Roy S. Moore, make the following statement. Within days after the December 12th special general election for United States Senate, I agreed to a polygraph examination by a licensed member of the Alabama Association of Polygraph Examiners, quote AAPE, whom I had never met previously.
Absolutely.
The examination concerned allegations of sexual misconduct made against me during the last month of the campaign by X, Y, and Z. Alleged conduct, in quotes, scare quotes, approximately 30 to 40 years ago. As I expected, the results of the examination reflected that I did not know, nor had I ever had sexual contact with any of these individuals.
Wait. That's the wrong question,
now, wait,
dog.
Hold on.
That's the wrong question. The question on the table was, did you try? Not whether it fucking worked.
Well, but even beyond that, beyond that, though.
I think we're getting away from something here. Hold on a second.
Go ahead.
We're getting away from the fact that none of that issue is not even plausibly related to whether voter.
That's a good point. This is way far away from this shit.
It doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter if he had been libeled for years. The people who voted that day are all that matters. Like, it's just a counting exercise. There's no reason why he would submit that polygraph except to put in the news that he took a polygraph. It's just not relevant.
He's challenging
to the
fake news.
he's making.
Okay,
yes,
and that's what we're getting around to, as a side. Finally taking on the big media conglomerates who have it out for the, it's fake news. Is my point.
Well, this is also a man who almost got bucked off the world's most patient horse trying to ride into his moment of loss.
You know, Robyn, you know about horse riding, right? That looked like shit to me, but I don't know anything about it.
No, it was very bad, and I have been tossed by much better horses for much smaller infractions than what this poor man, what this poor horse was subjected to, with him yanking on her mouth, and it was brutal to watch.
I'm not gonna lie here, but you should probably cut this, whoever's editing this, but I was kind of hoping for a Christopher Reeve's situation on camera.
Don't besmirch my discipline and the danger it poses.
I'm just
by
saying,
comparing that. This is
it would have been a good.
The equivalent.
I will say,
I've seen better 2-year-olds on pony rides with better form. That's all I'm gonna say.
Tarik's aversion to having gamers insulted is kind of being passed on to me. I feel I am a terrible horseback rider. And my last experience was painful and horrible and embarrassing.
A little more detail, please.
And were there a video...
A little more detail, please.
That Roy Moore would have been me, except I would have had a less smug...
Did you get buffed off the horse, or did you just get bounced around in the crotch area?
Just
he did this to stage this specific image that he wants to portray of him as like a good old hometown,
That's a good point. He set this up.
He set this up
rapist
to look good, and it is the only way he stayed on that horse is because he had a saddle horn.
Imagine living your whole life that you think you're like a fucking badass horseman and you're like a cowboy, and you have no idea that you're just like for 40 years you're just getting fucking bounced around on your horse like a jagoff.
But he didn't do that at all. I mean, he's a guy who goes to the David Clark men's boutique for performative cowboyism. And so, he hadn't ridden before. And
but I thought he did this every year. I thought the story was Roy Moore rides to vote every year.
And that's why it's so...
Maybe that's the only time.
That's why it's so bizarre to me. It's I've ridden horses my whole life, practically, and I still get this feeling of oh my God, please no one watch me. So to have, Lord help us and give us the confidence of a white baby boomer, because to get on a horse, not knowing what you're doing, and ride into a press pit, that is bold.
I've never done it, but I'm pretty sure I would be.
That is a bold choice.
I'd be better at it than Roy Moore, that's my guess.
I will say, in Roy Moore's defense, if I knew that I could prompt a horseback rider to sound that irate, I would let a horse bounce me around. I would absolutely parade through Times Square on a horse, bouncing like an idiot, just to make Robyn give that speech.
I apologize, everybody. And, I have a lot of feelings.
Just to sort of totally out yourself as a horse person with that indignity made it all worth it.
That was his plan the whole time. His entire plan the
Senator
entire time.
Roy Moore. We risked Senator Roy Moore for that moment, and it was fun.
It was worth it.
It was fun.
It was totally worth
Doug
it.
Jones is going to vote.
Robyn, enjoy your DM request for the next week. Asking how you like to be bounced around on a horse.
Oh, God. I'm going to have to lock my account down.
It's not true. Robyn can control that horse.
That's right. So Roy Moore was dismissed sua sponte, the ultimate sort of indignity of any litigant before he even got started.
Except for his balls being liquidated by the horse, but otherwise the ultimate indignity.
Yeah, it appears that his only remedies lie in the Senate, I guess. And there's
can the Senate seat him if Alabama doesn't certify the election?
No, but they could probably keep it open. They could probably through various tricks and bullshit keep.
But
it
do they
open
even want to? Aren't they all against him at this point?
Yeah,
just this guy never should have fucking run. This was stupid. We blew it.
Yeah. So his options are either the Senate or federal court, and my money is on him trying both.
I hope so. God bless him.
When is he? I don't know when Jones is due.
We should thank him
No,
for
the
giving
first
us
time
all
was
this
state court.
content, guys. I think we should fund his federal.
Agree.
His federal
Oh my God, you're
Exactly.
right. Oh my God, you're so right.
The
Patreon
Mike
for
Dicta
Roy Moore.
fund for
Who's
for
got a pacer
besmirched
alert set up on
politicians.
Roy Moore?
How about if we just put all the profits from this episode towards
yes, all those
The
profits.
substantial.
Millions of dollars.
The negative profits of us paying people to listen to this.
I was gonna say, no, someone's gonna buy Christina a Roomba.
Yeah. If
That
you're
would be-
listening to this and you're thinking about buying me a Roomba, give $200 to Roy Moore instead. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks.
Christina's wish list just got updated. It's all
So-
Roy
so,
Moore
yeah,
related merchandise.
The Alabama statute does not provide him any relief. The Senate Rules Committee has jurisdiction, and I suppose he could make some kind of constitutional argument in federal court, neither of which are going to be particularly meaty.
Yeah, and I don't think the Senate rules I don't think anybody's interested. Like, if he could have made it into the Senate, they probably would have fought tooth and nail to keep him or done whatever they had to do. But I don't think anybody was super excited about, like, pedo guy with the tiny Derringer.
Yeah, he just wasn't a viable candidate to begin with. Like, you can't. Once you go, even
He was pretty viable.
well, no, but even in Alabama, once you get on the record saying that women shouldn't work,
It's Alabama, Robyn. Have you been?
I think he could. I think he was a viable candidate. I just
won
think they were.
statewide
I just think
office.
a lot of these cocktail people were just holding a straight face until he lost, and then they were like, "Well, here's all the stuff I would have said if Trump would have lost, which is we never should have fucking run him."
Well,
Yeah,
Richard Shelby is the chair of the Rules Committee. Who's
Shelby?
the other Alabama senator. Yes,
I love that guy.
point to note.
right?
right,
Roy Moore,
so,
take away.
In conclusion,
Dumbass
we're all
pick of the
headed back
week.
to work tomorrow after the holiday, and I'm self-swatting right now.
I would like to thank all of our guests on this episode of Mike Dicta, New York's Tarik, DC's Andy, Minnesota's Christina, and Illinois' Robyn, who will ride off into the sunset. Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Yep.
Could've stayed home, just cried and cussed. May all your guns go off if it's time to bust. May all their tanks have time to rust. They got the armies turning bullets into gold. They got the hookers turning tricks into cold. And every time the police kicks in the dough, an angel gas breaks dips in the O. And even if a D-boy flips in my O, it ain't enough to buy shit anymore. Sleep in the doorway, piss on the floor. Look in the sky, wait for missiles to show. It's finna blow, cause they got the TV, we got the truth. They own the judges and we got the proof. We got hella people, they got helicopters. They got the bombs and we got the guillotine. We got the guillotine, you better run.